We looked at a lot of great tips already for front row attacking for a left side hitter. But what about back row attacking? This can also be a great versatile part of your game that can add more dimensions to what you can do offensively and hopefully get you more kills. So the back row attack, the footwork works the exact same as it does in the front row attack. But the first tip that I can give you is that you have to be mentally prepared and you have to be verbally calling the ball. What you'll find is that as a back row hitter, the only time you're ever going to get set the ball is when you're actively calling for that ball over and over and over again. That verbal call will remind the setter that you're ready to attack out of the back row. But then if you're calling for the ball, you got to make sure you deliver. And if you're going to deliver, you have to hit the ball not only over the net, but you have to be effective at hitting the ball to the deep corners of the court. A back row attack doesn't need to bounce off the floor at the 3-meter line on the other side of the net. It just needs to find the hard wood somewhere. And in order to do that, the two weakest spots for a team defensively on a back row attack are the right back and the left back corners on the other side of the net. So the back row attack, the footwork works the same. She's going to do a left, right, left with a good hop plant at the end. She's going to get her feet, her hips, her shoulders, everything open to where the ball is coming from. She's going to get a nice high draw. And the biggest thing for a back row attack is when you're in the air is that it looks really different than a front row attack because you can't see the net very well. So you want to trust your mechanics and really swing with a nice high draw, a good fast exchange, and finish all the way through down to the side of your body. If you resist your follow through and you hold it high because you're afraid of hitting into the net, that ball will sail out of bounds almost every single time. You need that follow through to create topspin on the ball to make it drop onto the other side of the court. So make sure you get your elbows high and you keep a right elbow high all the way through contact, and then you can follow all the way through to your side or all the way through across your body, and it'll create the topspin necessary to hit the ball down on the floor. So let's look at the back row attack. Left, right, left. She gets both elbows up. Nice high left elbow. Nice high right elbow. And she's snapping all the way through the ball. Good, and hold up. So I'll remind you, this is a player right now that is not hitting the ball 8 feet above the tape. She's not jumping to that level, but her hand control, her mechanic, they're so aggressive and they're also very fine-tuned that she has the ability, technically, to hit these types of shots. And the back row attack is about confidence in here, smarts in here, and good technical components with your arm swing. Elbow to elbow, both elbows getting involved in the swing. So again, notice not only that the footwork is the same as the front row attack, but also the elbows. Really focus on what she's doing with her left elbow in her draw and see how fast and hard she pulls it down, and that her right elbow stays high all the way through contact with an aggressive follow through. So she's left, right, left, good high draw, and aggressive follow through. Lynette does a great job of exposing the two deep corners on the net. She wants to keep in mind that there's usually going to be a middle blocker that will see that back row attack coming and try to take away the center of the court. There will also be a middle back that's trying to defend the deep part of the court. So the two areas of the court that are exposed for a back row attack are the deep right back corner and the deep left back corner. So now we'll ask her to hit one to each zone. So there's deep left back corner, and she has the same footwork mechanic and the same nice high draw. Oh yeah, you can do better. Put it right there in the deep right back corner, right here. So she'll draw and exchange and snap that ball into the corner. These are great back row attacks, and they're balls that are very difficult for a back row player to defend. So we focused a lot on outside hitting tips from the left side of the net. But we don't want to forget about outside hitting from the right side of the net, which is also another zone on the net that can make you really versatile as an outside hitter. So what we're going to look at here is a basic footwork for a high ball to the backside set. This footwork is the same 3 steps that you would use from the left side, but the only difference is the whole time these steps are going to stay squared out to the net. So Lynette will walk through the steps real quick. It's left, right, left. And notice that her toes, her hips, her shoulders, everything stays square to the net. This will cause her to broad jump slightly, so you want to make sure that you're making your plant a pretty good distance off the net, usually about 4 to 5 feet. as opposed to a left side hitter that might jump 3 to 4 feet off the net. A right side hitter wants to jump about 4 to 5 feet off the net. So since her toes are pointed forward, she's going to broad jump into the ball. Again, she's starting from the tee, this time on the right side of the court, and her steps are left, right, left, and she wants to get those as close to a hop as possible. From here, she'll get into the same draw with her arms, and she'll use the same exchange mechanic that we used before, left hand for right hand. She'll wait to drive that left elbow and hand for when the ball almost touches her left hand. That's her cue point to swing. From here, she can use the same swings that she used from the other side. If she wants to swing in this direction, she can drive her left elbow hard and face that direction and hit it. If she wants to swing down the line, she can hold her left elbow in, face that direction and hit it. And if she wants to hit cross body, she can hold that left elbow in and finish with her arm across her chest. She can use all the different swing mechanics that she used as a left side hitter on the right side of the net, and they'll just go different directions on the net. So again, we'll look at the footwork full speed now, and she goes left, left, and she gets that draw up through her jump one more time. Left, left, and she gets that draw up. Now we'll look at it live with a few tosses. Left, left, and notice that the last two steps are a quick hop, and she gets both elbows high in her draw, and she's able to snap the ball across the net. Left, left, high draw. That time she snapped it crossbody. Now let's hit the line. Good, and she finishes out straight through. Notice that everything is very linear for her. Her shoulders, feet, and everything are facing the net the whole time. This is the simplest way as a right-handed player to hit from the right side of the net. So we looked at the basic footwork and approach for a backside set as an outside hitter. But when you're hitting from the right side, you also want to have a 1-foot takeoff. And the 1-foot takeoff adds a lot of dynamic and speed movement to your attacking game. So we're going to look at the footwork for the 1-foot takeoff for an outside hitter. All you're going to need to do, because you're not coming from the very center of the court like a middle, you just need 2 steps. And the 2 steps that she's going to use are really simple. She's going to take a right and a left step as she explodes up into the air. So if her starting point is right here at the 3-meter line, as a right side hitter, and she's going to take that first step, is a right step and then a left, okay? Those are the only 2 steps she needs. So the next tip then we really talk about for any slide hitter or 1-foot takeoff hitter is she's really going to drive her right knee and elbow when she gets to her jumping point. So she goes right, left, and then drives that right knee and elbow into the air to attack the ball. So we'll look at it again in just slow, nice, easy steps. Right, left, drives the knee and elbow into the air. You can see she also has her left elbow up because this is the same draw mechanic as it is for any other swing that she has. Okay, so now we'll see it full speed with a jump but without the ball. She'll go right, left, and drive that right knee and elbow into the air. One more time, right, left, drive that knee and elbow into the air. All this is a running motion, and this should feel really natural and comfortable to you. And so she's running toward the antenna, and she's just going to plant off that left foot and drive that right knee and elbow up into the air into her draw position. So here's what a slide or a 1-foot takeoff looks like for a right side hitter. It's good. So she's trying to time the ball. She's timing it with that running motion. She's taking a right and a left step. And when she takes that left plant step, she's driving her right knee into the air, keeping her right elbow high. So the tips that are really important for a 1-foot takeoff, again, is right, left with the footwork mechanic. The next tip being really driving your right knee high and getting that right elbow and left elbow up when you're doing it. And then the final tip is making sure that you're using an aggressive exchange. And if you're using an aggressive exchange, you'll have a nice high reach and snap and have a lot of power through the ball. So let's see a couple more really working on the 1-foot takeoff. Right, left, she gets both elbows up, has a nice high left elbow and a nice high right elbow all the way through the exchange. The 1 foot takeoff for a right side hitter is really valuable because you're moving along the net in this direction. It makes it really difficult for a blocker to pick up your angle of attack. If you're a right side hitter and you're just starting from the tee and you're coming straight into attack, it's really easy for a block to set up on you because you have a very linear approach. It's coming in a straight line. But if you're attacking from the inside of the court off of 1 foot, as a blocker, it's hard to tell exactly where you're going to hit. Not only where you're going to plant, but also which direction you're going to hit. So it's a really valuable thing to have as an outside hitter, the ability to hit off of 1 foot. It's more dynamic and it moves much faster and allows you to be more deceptive as a hitter. You've been working hard at getting better. You've been using all these tips that we've talked about during the course of this tape so far. And now you've become a complete player. But there's one more thing that we need to talk about, and that's our final tip. And that is that moment that every outside hitter just waits for, every outside hitter dreams about, and that's an open net swing. When you know you have a hole so big to hit through that you can absolutely crush the ball. And what you want to avoid doing is what we call dropping the hammer. What dropping the hammer means is when you know you have that chance to crush the ball and you start with a nice high open draw, but instead you get so excited to swing that you leave your left elbow out early, you rotate your shoulders in forward too soon, and you bring your right elbow down to try to hit the ball straight to the floor. This effect is what we call dropping the hammer, and what happens is the ball tends to hit the top of the tape. So instead of getting blocked by the player on the other side, a lot of times a player that has an open net swing and wants to drop the hammer ends up getting blocked by the net. So this is what dropping the hammer looks like. You start in a nice high open draw, and then you bring your elbow down into the ball, dropping your left elbow early, bringing your right elbow down to the ball, and the ball just bounces off the top of the tape instead of keeping your right elbow high. So dropping the hammer is something that you want to avoid. When you get that open net swing, you want to make sure that you're using good mechanics and the right technique to be as effective as possible. Because for an outside hitter, very rarely are you going to get a chance to swing with no block or just one block up because you're dealing with so much garbage. So Lynette will show you the power shot through the hole. It is so important to have a nice high draw, to wait as long as possible, and have a really fast exchange left to right, keeping that right elbow high. Again, her draw is high, and she exchanges left to right, keeping that right elbow high. There's lots of power in the swing, and the ball bounces directly over the net. So remember, outside hitters, keep those elbows up. Get your exchange as fast as possible and work on all of your shots when it comes to being an effective outside hitter. Efficiency in footwork will help you get to the ball sooner, and then lots of different diverse shots will make you more effective as an attacker and increase your percentages of kills when you're playing in the game. Getting better at blocking is really difficult to do if you're only focused on how high you jump above the net. The most important skill you can have in being a good blocker is having good eyes, good vision to your hitter. I've seen blockers that can reach 3 feet across the net that can't block at all, and I've seen blockers that reach 3 inches across the net that have great blocking ability because of their vision. So vision is the thing that you really need to key on when you're working on getting better at blocking. For a player that reaches just a few inches above the tape, you can be a great blocker. So really pay attention to the details and make sure that you're focusing in on being the best player that you can on the technical skill. The first thing we talk about then as we're looking at blocking is the vision sequence that happens. As a blocker on this side of the net, the first thing that she's going to do as she goes out to block is she's going to watch the ball as it comes to the setter. She's going to watch the setter and what the setter looks like she may or may not do with the ball. She's going to watch the ball leave the setter's hand, and then she's going to watch the hitter and what the hitter is going to do with the ball. So the sequence is ball, setter, ball, hitter. The biggest tendencies that blockers have are ball, setter, ball, ball, ball. And blockers most of the time don't pick up the hitter again in their vision sequence. If you don't watch the hitter, then you'll have no idea where the ball is going to go. Once the ball has been set into the air, the ball will do nothing different than what it's already doing. It has no different things that are happening to it. It's going into the air. So its job is done. So once that ball goes into the air and you know where it's going, as a blocker, you really have to make sure that you find that hitter and read the hitter in order to block them. The hitter's shoulder and their body position will determine where they hit the ball, not the ball itself. So the vision sequence again is the ball as it comes to the setter and what she does with it, the ball as it's in flight, and then the hitter's shoulder when you can get your eyes on the hitter. Ball, setter, ball, hitter. That's the vision sequence, and that's the first and foremost important tip. The second tip that we would look at then is actually reading the situation in play. A lot of blockers can use a better IQ in the course of the game by reading where the ball is in the situation on the court. If the setter is here at the net and they're waiting on the ball, but the ball is passed somewhere out here to the 3-meter line or beyond, as the setter comes off the net, that blocker needs to make this read based on the situation and know that most likely the ball is going to get set out here because there just aren't a lot of options from here for the setter. So if the ball is going to get set out there, she did the smart thing already, which is she made a couple of shuffle moves over here to cheat, and then when the ball gets set there, she'll finish her blocking movement and be in good position. This is good volleyball IQ. So she'll use the same vision sequence from here. She's used the ball sequence, then she used the setter sequence, then she'll see the ball again, and then she'll look at the hitter to block the hitter and pick up the hitter's shoulder. The next tip then we would talk about is not only reading the situation, but reading the setter herself. As the setter goes to set the ball, a lot of setters will give away things based on their ability. A setter that comes here might really feel comfortable every time in setting the ball out here, so you need to read that position for the setter and also read what the setter likes to do. The ball may come to the setter here, and the setter might arch their back before they go to set. And this tells you, based on reading the setter, that the ball is going to get set in that direction. The setter might let the ball drop really low, which tells you the ball is getting set in that direction. The setter might get one hand up to attack the ball, which tells you the setter is going to attack the ball. And these are all reads that you can make as a blocker before the ball is even ever set. So reading the setter is really important. Another key ingredient in being a good blocker. You read the situation, then you read the setter, and you use that same vision sequence every single time. So we talk about reading the situation, then reading the setter. The next thing you need to do as a blocker is you need to be able to read your hitter. You need to know what tendencies that hitters have. And if our blocker comes over here and comes to block the outside hitter, and she knows that the outside hitter loves to hit in this direction, then she has that advantage before she goes to jump and block and before the hitter goes to hit the ball. So you need to be able to read your hitter tendencies as well and then apply them in your blocking skill. And again, that is about vision and volleyball IQ. So if she knows the hitter likes to hit the line, then she needs to square up on that hitter and make sure she takes away the line. And it's the same kind of thing, knowing your hitter's tendencies and taking away those tendencies from your hitter. If the hitter likes to hit all different kinds of angles, then you really need to add a different type of IQ, and that's reactive IQ, and that's seeing the hitter right before contact and knowing that they're hitting in that direction. So here's an example. If she's lined up basically in my seam, so this would be a power shot for me right here. So she's in a good spot. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to toss the ball in the air, and then as I turn my shoulders each direction, she'll make a quick shuffle and block, and that will be her visual read based on me as a hitter. It has nothing to do with the ball, it has to do with me as a hitter. So here's what that looks like. So now I can turn my shoulders a different way. Good. Then I can turn my shoulders a different way. And each time she's making a minute adjustment with her feet right before contact, and then she's getting her hands across the net to block. This is about vision. One of the ways that I can test to see if she's using her vision correctly, which is on my shoulders, on me as a hitter, is I can do something different with the ball. I can do this, okay? And I can see, even though I threw the ball in that direction and she reacted to the ball initially, she picked my shoulder back up again and she was reading my shoulder in this direction. The ball didn't tell her anything. I'm the hitter. I'm the one that has to play the ball across the net. So she needs to read my shoulder every single time. So the ball goes up. Good. She realizes it's a tip. Okay? Ball goes up. She sees my shoulder direction and she comes in this way. Okay? Ball goes up. Okay? She makes that adjustment based on my shoulders every single time. Okay? So again, she's using her vision of my shoulder to determine where she needs to block. Okay? And that's good blocking IQ. Now that we've covered tips for reading the situation and developing a better blocking IQ, let's actually look at technical tips for the blocking mechanic itself. We've put our player up here on a box so she doesn't have to jump and she can really work on just the hand positioning. And that's the part that we'll focus on. The first thing that she's going to do and we're going to look at is she's tall, so she has an advantage as a blocker. But we're going to ask her to penetrate her hands just palms above the tape, even smaller, right there. Okay? This is a block height that most players can achieve very easily. Okay? The net is 7 feet 4 1/4, so this is a block height that's not very high. It's less than 8 feet when she's jumping to block. And most players can achieve this if they're playing front row. So the first thing that we tell a player is this position is far more important than any other height that you might achieve. She can put her hands straight up in the air and be really high above the net, but this is a horrible block because the ball will sneak through her platform, it'll sneak past her forearms and get through her and come down on the other side of the net all of the time. So this isn't a good blocking position. So we ask her to put her hands low and tight across the net. So the first technical tip that we look at is making sure that her palms are getting on this side of the net. And we call this penetrating the net. Penetrating the net means getting positive